August 17th, 2005. We're at the Southwest Washington Fair, and we are ready to tape Leonard C. McReynolds of Chehalis, Washington. The videographer is Carol Watson, and my name is Edna Fund, who's interviewing Leonard today. And also present is his wife,
Edith.
Okay, Leonard, where were you born?
I was born in Seminole, Texas, right in the middle of the Permian Basin oil fields.
And
West Texas.
West Texas. So, did you finish high school?
Yes, I finished high school in 1933, and I went back and took some additional courses and finished the second time in 1938.
You took more courses, and so you have 2 high school diplomas? Is that what I heard you say?
Yep.
Interesting. And then what did you do in 38 after you finished?
38, I joined the Army Air Corps.
And why did you join the Army Air Corps? What was...
Because the Navy wouldn't take me.
Oh, really?
I had an appointment to the Navy, a congressional appointment to the Navy Academy, and they said you got too much sugar in your urine and too much of a prospect for a diabetes program person. So they wouldn't take me in the Navy, so I joined the Army Air Corps.
Okay. So where were you first stationed?
When I joined, signed up for the Army Air Corps, I waited 2 years, and then they sent me up to El Paso, Texas, to Fort Bliss. I was sworn in at El Paso. And there they sent me to Brooks Field, San Antonio, Texas. I spent almost a year at San Antonio, Texas, living in a big hangar down there. Get up every morning and go out and police the ground, pick up all the cigarette butts, have a military funeral for them, lunch.
42.
And after that, when they finally did get uniforms, they didn't have uniforms to issue us at the time. Nothing to issue.
45.
When they finally did get us uniforms, they sent out to Brooks Field, to Jefferson Barracks, Missouri. That's right outside of St. Louis.
Okay.
And there I did a little bit of everything. I drove vehicle, walked guard duty, split wood, stacked cordwood.
So you were a jack of all trades at that point.
Yes. And from there I went to Chanute Field, Illinois, and went through training as a pilot, as a prop specialist, instrument specialist, and just a short time before Pearl Harbor, I got out of Chanute.
World War II.
And when they hit Pearl Harbor, I was on my way.
Where were you?
I'd spent 2 weeks at home with my dad.
In Texas?
In Texas.
Seminole, Texas.
Well, no, it's Colorado City at that time.
Okay.
And on my way to...
England, France.
I was assigned to 19th Bomb Group in San Francisco. I got to San Francisco, and they said, you're a little bit late. That group is on the way between here and Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah. So
19th Bomb Group, you've been reassigned to the 38th Fighter Squadron
then you were a soldier?
in Portland, Oregon.
So
I went to Portland, Oregon. We were there about 3 weeks after I joined, and they put us on a truck and shipped us up to Olympia Airport in Olympia, Washington.
Olympia Airport.
And
Really?
And we had, when we were in Portland, we had P-47,
what's that?
P-43s.
Oh, okay.
P-43s that
were
they
you
flew, which was
Were
a,
you hurt in the...
looked like a jug almost like a P-43, except it was much smaller. A P-47, I mean. And we got to Portland, went up to Portland, and I had been through sheet metal training, welding, and when I was back in school, and I became a sheet metal and welder for this.
Did you get injured?
37th Fighter Squadron. When the war broke out, I was a crew chief on a P-38.
Oh, you were?
I was a
What happened?
private first class A private, out of first class. I was a private in the Army with a first AM rating.
With a gun or
Something that very people ever heard of.
No.
He carried the same pay as a tech sergeant, the same responsibilities as a tech sergeant,
Your left arm, okay.
but no rank.
And were you,
No rank.
did you have other injuries?
In 1942, shortly, just right after the war broke out,
Oh, once is enough.
they cut out that first AM rating, and everybody that had a first AM rating made a buck sergeant 1 month, staff sergeant the following month, and a tech sergeant the following month.
You get your records?
So I was a tech sergeant.
Okay.
Another fellow named Cameron and myself decided we weren't going to get any further than what we were. It was, let's put in for the flying sergeants.
Uh-huh.
You've heard of them, no doubt.
Yes.
We need to wait then for...
We put in for flying sergeant, both went up to McCord Field, took the test at McCord Field, both passed. They says, well, we're just going to put you here in the castle at McCord, and you'll wait till you get a call, gets openings for the flight sergeants. We were there for almost 3 months,
We also have to have you fill out some
living in that hut.
the
And
interview. So we need to put your name.
Cameron and myself spent most of the time in Florida, in Cuba, not in Cuba, in
Okay, and you need to sign it.
up in Canada. Spent time up in Canada. Lived up there, almost just lived up there, waiting for the call for the sergeant's program. Then they came back and says, well, we cut out the fighting sergeant's program. You're going right directly into cadets.
Return it to
So I went to Stockton, went to Santa Ana. They shipped us to Santa Ana. Everybody took their test. They said, you're qualified as a navigator. That's where we're going to put you. And I said, no, I'm not going to the navigator school. I said, I'm signed up for pilot school. If I can't get pilot school, you can send me back where I came from.
Uh-huh. So you were determined to be a pilot.
Yep.
This is the, we might need, if we can't come back, maybe we can.
They sent me, I went from there, I went to Visalia, went through basic training, pre-flight in Santa
I
Ana.
live right down the road
First-
from that library is.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Flight training in Santa Ana, and Visalia.
He'd love it.
From Visalia, I went to Chico,
Oh, yeah, well, that's what. So we
Chico to Stockton.
his name and his contact.
Oh, yeah.
Stockton, I thought my career was over. I crashed a twin-engine Cessna airplane.
You crashed a twin-engine Cessna?
Yep.
So it's not so loud around.
How'd that happen?
So you can hear us.
We, a fellow named myself, were flying, and we went into Red Bluff, going to go into Red Bluff.
Yes.
I don't know whether you ever seen that airport at Red Bluff or not. It's just like that, just about like that. So when I came in for a landing, I overshot and had to belly in out the
So that way my trigger memory.
field out the other side of it.
Things to do.
Okay, well,
I figured my air
and what we'll do then
was over.
is give a call.
Went back, they picked me up, picked us up, took us back to
It's loud around.
Stockton. They said, just go to your barracks, you're under arrest, you'll stay there until we call you.
Uh-huh.
He came in the next morning and said, hey, he said, you guys are wanted at the flight line. A fellow named Melton and myself.
What was the name again?
Melton.
Milton, okay.
So went down to the flight line, and our flight instructor met us. They said, what the hell are you doing down here? He said, you're supposed to be up at a meeting in a certain building for the crash yesterday. They said, you better get up there in a hurry. So we did. We took off, went up there. Melton went through, and he was co-pilot. They didn't see much of anything to him. I went in, and I figured this is it. Opened the door, and there was a bunch of cords laying on the floor, and I tripped on and fell flat on my face. Looked up, and everybody at the table there is running the show, laughing like the dickens. They said, you guys, says Mike, if you're going to make that cross country today, you better get up and get back down to the flight line. That's all there was to it. Never said a word about the crash.
Wow. I bet you were relieved.
Yes. From there, I I graduated from cadets in Stockton in 43 H, I believe it was. I don't remember the number of the group. From there, they sent me to Hobbs, New Mexico for B-17 training. Spent 6 weeks in B-17 training in Hobbs, New Mexico, and then went to Salt Lake City and picked up my crew. Picked up a crew of 10 of us.
Did you like the B-17? How was it to fly?
You didn't fly it. You didn't need any flying. It's the easiest airplane in the world to fly.
Okay.
But
So you picked up your crew of 10.
picked up a crew of 10 and went from there to Louisiana for crew training, and we spent 3 months in crew training, and then they shipped us overseas. I flew overseas. Went to Grand Island, Nebraska, picked up a brand new B-17, and flew from there. We flew to up in Canada anyway too. And I had a generator go out on one of the engines on a B-17, and we spent 3 days there waiting for a generator to get it put on. And then went to Meatfield, Iceland. I spent 3 weeks in Meatfield, Iceland.
Cold, isn't it?
It's not so cold. It's an island that doesn't get cold. It's a volcanic island. The ground's always warm. But we would get up in the morning and it looked just beautiful as it could be. And before you could get to the flight line, you couldn't see the nose of the airplane.
Oh.
We lived in barracks there, and between the barracks they had walks just wide enough for 2 people to walk abreast, and ropes down each side of them, so because that fog moved in and you couldn't see where you were going. You just grab a rope and follow it until you get to the barrack, get to somewhere where you were. From there I went to, after we finally got out of Iceland, went to Scotland, spent 3 days in Scotland, and then down to the 95th Bomb Group, which was stationed at a place called Horham in England.
In England.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of Army Air Force people there?
It was all,
A big base?
no, it wasn't a very big base. 95th Bomb Group was there, and 3rd Division headquarters for the group was stationed there. And I flew my first mission as a co-pilot, the only mission I ever flew as a co-pilot. And my co-pilot, my tail gunner, was killed on that mission.
Oh boy.
So the direct flight hit was Berlin. We hit Berlin. I made 7 trips to Berlin.
Wow. Did you have any, like, P-51s helping you at that point? Were they?
Oh yes.
Yes.
They were on fire escort. That's
Yeah.
little brothers.
Yeah.
And I saw the first jet I ever saw. We saw one of those missions. A Messerschmitt 262 flew around. He flew out just out of gunnery range around and made a circle this way, come down backwards, back here, back around, made 2 complete circles, and disappeared. Never did get in gunnery range, never did.
Well, that was really something, I bet, to see that.
Of course, as a pilot, you didn't see much. I mean, your concentration's on whoever you're flying wings. You've flown a lot, huh?
Read a lot.
So you had 35 missions that you completed?
Yes. Picked up my DFC and my airmeds and came home.
So So all over Germany, or did you have other places you were?
Well, over France. France and Germany. And the other little countries all around there.
Yes.
I flew 2 missions down into the Pyrenees country where we hauled food and ammunition and everything down to the French that were fighting in the country down there. I came home. Was assigned to, after a 3-week stay at home.
What year was this? Or when is this?
This was just before Germany capitulated.
So you had enough flights in for you to come home? You had
35 missions.
Uh-huh.
Enough hours and enough points. And I got assigned to Sioux City, Iowa. And as a B-17 instructor, which I hated with a purple passion.
Now, why did you not like it?
Because if I'm going to get killed in an airplane, I want to be at the controls. I don't want somebody else to be.
I see. I see.
And they opened up some other places to go, and I volunteered, and they sent me to Salina, Kansas as a relief pilot on B-29s. I got about 12 hours on B-29s, and they opened up a deal that said we're looking for pilots, twin and multi-engine pilots for a job in Cuba. So I went to Cuba for a year, flying with what we call the Gypsy Airlines. We run scheduled airlines from Cuba to Miami to hit a blank. From there we went to Guantanamo Bay, then to Puerto Rico to Natal, Brazil. Spent the night, come back the next day.
Was it kind of a different kind of letdown because you'd been used to flying in the war zone compared to this? Was it an adjustment?
It was an adjustment, but I won't say a letdown because it's anytime you're flying, you can't let down.
Right. Did you have the same plane all 35 missions, or did you have some?
No,
Tell us
different.
about that.
I was assigned to a plane called Puddles.
Puddles.
The assistant ground crew chief named it because that's what he called his wife, was Puddles. Young fella from up just outside of Seattle. But I think I flew 17 missions in Puddles, and the rest of them were just a variety of different planes. You get shot up, get a plane shot up, it goes into repair, and it'll be in repair for a week. You may fly 2 other planes in that length of time.
Did you maintain contact with some of your crew members?
Very definitely. In fact, my crew that I had, we lost contact with the 2 waist gunners shortly after the war, and I never knew what happened to them. The rest of them I know right, tell you right where they are exactly now, even yet. There's 2 of us left. 3 of us left. My radio operator, the radio operator I picked up after we lost our radio operator, lives down in Sacramento, or not Sacramento, right outside of Reno, Nevada. And my bombardier lives in New York City, and myself, that's all that's left of the crew.
Do you have reunions?
Yes, we just attended a reunion, and my wife and I just attended a reunion in England, 3 weeks, back at the base where I was stationed.
What's it look like now?
There was nothing there.
Nothing there.
There's still a two Quonset huts, which they have made into a museum, in effect, that deals with what the 95th Bomb Group did. 95th Bomb Group was the first group to bomb Berlin. That's quite a story within itself. They sent the whole group, whole 8th Air Force, headed for Berlin, weather socked in, and Colonel, whatever his name was anyway, told his radio operator, who was a young fellow named Steer from down in the Raymond area, or from the Philadelphia area, Bud Steer from the Olympia area. And the head of the guy that was running the show that day called Bud Steer and says, "Don't take any radio messages, we're going in." So the 95th Bomb Group was the only group that hit Berlin that day. They come back, they didn't know what to do with the colonel. They threatened to court-martial him and everything else, and they finally wound up giving him a Purple Star.
Really? Wow.
Silver Star.
Pretty amazing. Now, did you ever have entertainment? Did you ever have folks come to your...
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We had entertainment all the time. In fact, Glenn Miller was at the base where I was just shortly before he disappeared.
Oh, really? In England?
England, yep. And, I can't think of any other shows we had there right now. But we had shows quite regularly. Entertainers coming in.
Probably was a pretty stressful time for you guys. You needed some release sometime.
Yep.
And so you went on, after you were finished with Cuba, you continued in the military?
Well, war ended shortly after I left there. I continued in the military, stayed in the station at El Paso, Texas, and at San Bernardino, California, before I got out. I went down to Los Angeles thinking I was going to be an airline pilot. Went in and talked to United Airlines, and they said, "Yeah, we got openings. You're flying directly from Los Angeles to Honolulu." I went up on one of the flights that they flew that route on, and I says, "Hey, I wouldn't fly this anywhere."
Oh. Wasn't as trustworthy as the B-17?
It didn't have the maintenance in it.
Oh.
So I went back and went to work for the Highway Department in the state of Washington.
Oh, I see.
Worked 52 years for the state of Washington Highway Department
My.
as a computer systems analyst.
Now, just to get clarification, now you were in the 95th Bomber Group. What squadron were you in?
334th.
So do you think your experience as a pilot helped you in getting the job with the state?
Well, it didn't hurt. I don't know that it helped. I don't know that it helped because it was entirely different.
So veterans preference, potentially. So you didn't need to use the GI Bill after you returned?
No, never did.
Now, do you currently belong to any...
belong to VFW.
VFW?
In Raymond.
Okay. And do you belong to the American Legion?
I've never joined the Legion.
Okay. Are you involved in the Veterans Memorial Museum locally in Chehalis?
I've been involved with one in Chehalis somewhat. I told them, and they got the same story you got.
Good.
From Dooley. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yes, Les Dooley.
Les Dooley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
My wife and I moved into a retirement center after we left Raymond, and the same one Les Dooley was in.
Oh.
Got acquainted with Les.
Well, now looking back, over 60 years, and knowing that this tape will be listened to by your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, other generations. Do you have any words of wisdom for them based on your experiences?
Keep your chin up. I've got, in the Air Force right now, I've got one daughter, two daughter-in-laws in the Air Force. I've got 3 grandsons that are in the Air Force. I've got my oldest son went through a hitch in the Marines, and my number 2 son, my oldest son went through a hitch in the Navy. My next son went through a hitch in the Marines, and other than that, my other two sons are Air Force.
So you have a rich family history there.
Yep.
Now, do you have anything to add, Leonard, to this interview that you'd like folks to know?
No, not at all.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time you've spent today with us at the Southwest Washington Fair and taking time out to give us your story.
Good.
Thank you.